Imagine a library, not of books but of all knowledge. Every scientific discovery, every artistic masterpiece, every philosophical insight, every possible future. Imagine this library is not in a building, but is woven into the very fabric of space-time. It has always been there. Now, what if I told you that you were born with a library card? What if the ability to access this infinite repository isn't something you need to acquire, but something you simply need to remember? This is not a new idea. It is, perhaps, the oldest secret in human history. A secret that was once considered a technology, a precise method for engineering consciousness. It was the central promise of a tradition known as Hermeticism, born in the spiritual melting pot of ancient Alexandria. And the instruction manual for this technology vanished, or so it seems. The story often begins with fire. The year is 391 AD. We see flames devouring the great library of Alexandria, the intellectual heart of the ancient world. We imagine centuries of wisdom turning to smoke and ash, a catastrophic accidental loss, but the truth is far more subtle and far more deliberate. The most potent knowledge in that library wasn't burned. It had been carefully removed piece by piece long before the first spark fell. The texts on mathematics, on medicine, on conventional philosophy, those were left on the shelves. But the operational manuals, the step-by-step guides for altering consciousness to directly perceive universal truths, those were gone. These weren't vague spiritual treatises. They were, by all accounts, technical documents, and they were intentionally scattered, broken into 1,000 pieces and hidden in the last place anyone would think to look, in plain sight. Embedded in allegory, disguised as poetry, woven into the fabric of other philosophies and religions. It was not an act of destruction, but an act of radical preservation. Why? Because the keepers of this knowledge understood a timeless truth. A powerful technology in the wrong hands, or in a world not ready for it, becomes a weapon. So they created a puzzle, a great intellectual scavenger hunt spread across time itself. They gambled that future generations would one day develop the eyes to see the pattern, the language to connect the dots. That time is now. For centuries, this knowledge was the stuff of mystics and secret societies. But today, something extraordinary is happening. The scattered fragments are beginning to resonate with the most advanced discoveries of our own era. From the strange world of quantum physics to the deepest explorations of neuroscience, we are finding the missing pieces. We are, without realizing it, reconstructing the lost manuscript. Let's start with the fundamental premise of this ancient technology. The Hermetic philosophers taught that our individual consciousness is not a generator. It doesn't create thought from nothing, like a candle creating its own light. Instead, they saw it as a receiver, an antenna designed to tune into a signal that is always broadcasting. The universal mind, or what they called the nous. Think of your smartphone. It doesn't generate the internet. It connects to it. It's a device for receiving and interpreting a flow of information that exists independently of it. The Hermeticists claim the human mind operates on the exact same principle. All knowledge, all creativity, all insight already exists in a vast, non-local field. To learn is not to acquire but to attune. To create is not to invent but to receive. For thousands of years, this sounded like beautiful poetry, a comforting metaphor. And then in the mid-20th century, a physicist named David Bohm, a protege of Einstein, stumbled upon the very same idea, but through the unforgiving language of mathematics. While wrestling with the bizarre paradoxes of quantum entanglement, the spooky action at a distance that so troubled Einstein, Bohm proposed something radical. He suggested that the reality we perceive, the world of separate objects in space and time, is merely a projection, an illusion. He called it the explicate order. Beneath this surface reality, he said, lies a deeper, undivided wholeness where everything is fundamentally interconnected. He called this the asterisk implicate order. In this implicate order, All information is enfolded into every single point in space. The entire universe is contained in every atom. As above, so below. It was a principle straight from the core of Hermetic philosophy, now staring back at us from a quantum physicist's blackboard. Bohm's theory provides a stunning scientific framework for the ancient Hermetic model. The universal mind they spoke of finds its modern parallel in Bohm's implicate order, an infinite, information-rich field underlying all of reality. If our consciousness can interface with this field, then the act of downloading knowledge is no longer a mystical fantasy. It becomes a question of physics. So, how does the brain, a 3-pound organ of flesh and electricity, connect with this fundamental quantum reality? For a long time, science said it couldn't. The brain was too warm, too wet, too chaotic to support the delicate quantum states needed for such a connection. Quantum effects belonged in sterile, supercooled laboratories, but that assumption is beginning to crumble. Enter Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist who became fascinated by a simple question: how does anesthesia work? He noticed that anesthetic gases, composed of simple, non-reactive atoms, could switch off consciousness with remarkable precision, without stopping most other brain functions. How? He discovered that these gases were acting on tiny, protein structures deep inside our neurons called asterisk microtubules. Microtubules are the cell's skeleton, but Hameroff, along with the brilliant physicist Sir Roger Penrose, proposed they are much more. They argued that these intricate cylindrical structures are, in fact, biological quantum computers. Their geometric precision allows them to sustain quantum coherence, a state where they can process vast amounts of information in multiple states at once. According to their theory, which they call orchestrated objective reduction, or ORCHUR, consciousness is born at the moment this quantum coherence collapses into a single, classical state. Each moment of subjective experience, each thought, each feeling, is a quantum event, a ripple of collapse happening trillions of times a second across the microtubules of your brain. What this means is staggering. It suggests the human brain is not just a classical biological machine, but a quantum device, an instrument exquisitely designed to interface with the quantum world. The antenna, it turns out, is real. The microtubules are the microscopic receivers, capable of tuning into the information enfolded in Bohm's implicate order. The very architecture of our biology seems engineered for this cosmic connection. The ancient Hermeticists didn't have the language of quantum mechanics, but they seem to have discovered the results through millennia of empirical, internal experimentation. They called it attuning the vessel. Modern science is just now rediscovering the machinery, but there is another piece of the puzzle. It's not enough to have an antenna. You need to know what kind of signal it's designed to receive. This brings us to the work of neuroscientist Giulio Tononi and his integrated information theory, or IIT. Tononi asked a different question. What is it about a system that makes it conscious? Why is a brain conscious but a computer or a rock is not? After years of research, he developed a mathematical measure for consciousness, which he calls asterisk phi. Phi measures the degree to which a system's information is integrated. A system has high phi if it is both highly differentiated, meaning it contains many different states, and highly integrated, meaning all those states are irreducibly interconnected. You can't break it down into independent parts without losing the essence of the whole. Consciousness, Tononi argues, is asterisk integrated information. This provides a powerful clue for how to operate our antenna. The key to expanding consciousness, to receiving clearer information from that universal field, lies in increasing its integration. And how do we do that? The ancient traditions gave us the answer thousands of years ago. Practices like meditation, deep contemplation, and focused attention are not just about relaxation. They are sophisticated techniques for maximizing the integration of information in the brain. They quiet the noise of the fragmented, analytical mind and cultivate a state of holistic, unified awareness, a state of hi-fi. In these states, the brain's activity shifts. We see a rise in specific brainwave patterns, like theta waves, which are linked to creativity, insight, and the twilight state between waking and sleep. This isn't a coincidence. These are the very frequencies that Stuart Hameroff's model predicts would be optimal for sustaining quantum coherence in microtubules. The puzzle pieces lock together. The ancient practices, Bohm's implicate order, Hameroff's quantum brain, and Tononi's integrated information all point to the same profound conclusion. Human consciousness is a tunable instrument, and we have forgotten how to play it. We live in a civilization that has engineered scarcity, not just of resources, but of awareness itself. Our modern world, with its constant distractions and relentless demand for fragmented attention, is an environment actively hostile to the deep, integrated states of consciousness required for this connection. We are taught to build knowledge brick by brick, through rote memorization and tireless effort, while ignoring the intuitive flashes, the sudden insights, the moments of inexplicable knowing that hint at a much deeper capacity. We are trained to trust only the receiver's static, while being told the broadcast doesn't exist. The reconstruction of the lost manuscript, then, is not about finding a dusty scroll in an Egyptian cave. It is about a synthesis, a grand convergence of ancient contemplative wisdom and modern scientific rigor. It's about taking the what from the mystics, the direct experiences of cosmic connection, and marrying it with the how from the scientists, the underlying mechanisms in quantum physics and neuroscience. This synthesis could unlock a new paradigm for humanity. Imagine an education system that doesn't just transfer facts, but teaches the art of receptive learning, training students to access information directly through cultivated intuition. Imagine a form of medicine that considers the body's quantum information field, promoting healing by restoring informational coherence, not just biochemical balance. Imagine technologies designed not to replace human intelligence with artificial substitutes, but to amplify our innate capacity to connect with that universal intelligence. But this brings us back to the original reason the knowledge was scattered in the first place. The question of responsibility. A technology that can access universal knowledge is a technology that confers immense power. Without a corresponding evolution in wisdom and compassion, such power could be catastrophic. The original Hermetic schools understood this. They paired their technical instructions with rigorous ethical training. The development of character was a prerequisite for the expansion of consciousness. Perhaps the greatest secret hidden within the scattered manuscript is not about how to download knowledge, but about why. The consistent report from those who have touched this universal field, from ancient mystics to modern astronauts, is one of overwhelming unity, of profound interconnectedness. To truly know the universe is to know that you are not separate from it. This experience naturally gives rise to compassion, to a sense of shared responsibility. The journey we have been on is not just a historical detective story. It is an invitation. The antenna exists within you. The broadcast is always on. You have already felt it in moments of sudden inspiration, in the quiet voice of your intuition, in the inexplicable feeling of being part of something vast and beautiful. These are not random glitches in your neural wiring. They are signals. They are fragments of the manuscript writing themselves across your own awareness. The task ahead is not to wait for some final discovery, but to begin the practice of listening, to cultivate the inner silence where the signal can be heard above the noise, to learn to distinguish between the frantic calculations of the ego and the calm, clear resonance of received truth. This is the work of our time, to reassemble not only a body of lost knowledge, but to reassemble ourselves, to remember that we are not isolated beings in a dead universe, but living antennas for cosmic intelligence, with the potential to become conscious co-creators of reality itself. The manuscript isn't lost, it is us. The question is, are we ready to finally read it?